have been having into a more peaceful mindset. So for those calling in on this slide, I included a photo from a family dinner with my mom, my dad, my sister, my dog, and friends. And we used a passed down family recipe to make Italian succo, and it was really special and delicious.
We're ready for the next slide, I think.
So now we're going to talk about nutrition. With our goal in mind being eating to feel healthy. So we're going to discuss the USDA Dietary Guidelines, Dietary Patterns, nutrition basics, and ways that we can easily add nutrient-dense foods into our meals. So the picture on the slide is one of the front pages from the 2025 Dietary Guidelines by the USDA. And this tool is really cornerstone for both the American public and dietitians. There's a quote from the USDA that we really like, and it says, "At its core, the Dietary Guidelines has a public health mission that is health promotion and disease prevention. Medical and nutrition professionals may use or adapt the dietary guidelines to encourage their patients or clients." So here we are, hopefully encouraging all of you today. And now Robin will talk a little bit more about the dietary guidelines.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the theme of the dietary guidelines, this 5-year dietary guideline, is make every bite count. The dietary guidelines for Americans are science-based advice on what to eat and drink in order to stay healthy, reduce the risk of chronic disease, and meet nutritional needs. By law, the dietary guidelines are updated every 5 years, and the new set just came out in December. The current guidelines are focused on achieving a healthy body weight, limiting added sugars, and limiting food and beverages higher in saturated fats. In order to achieve a healthy body weight or maintain a healthy body weight, we need to squeeze the maximum nutrients into a moderate number of calories. In other words, we need to make every bite count. How can we do that? The guidelines tell us to follow healthy dietary patterns. Dietary patterns are what a person eats and drinks over many months. Dietary patterns predict health more than individual foods or nutrients. Claire and I will discuss several healthy dietary patterns later in our talk. But no matter what dietary pattern we follow, we should eat more fruits and vegetables, whole grains, dairy, and seafood. We should eat less added sugars, salt, saturated fats, and we should limit alcoholic beverages. And as older adults, we also need to be sure we're eating enough protein and drinking enough fluids. Okay, next slide, please. The 2020-2025 Dietary Guidelines had a section specifically for older adults. And so I'll get a little more specific in talking about the guidelines for older adults. Following a healthy dietary pattern is vital for older adults because the risk of malnutrition may increase with age. Older adults generally have lower calorie needs and similar or even increased nutrient needs than when they were younger. It's essential to squeeze the most vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients into a moderate number of calories. Factors leading to lower caloric needs can include less physical activity and age-related loss in bone and muscle mass, which means we're not burning as many calories. More difficulty absorbing nutrients can happen as we age due to chronic conditions and the use of multiple medications. Okay, next slide, please.
So here now we're going to talk a little bit more about nutrient density. So you might be thinking, what does that mean exactly? Well, nutrient-dense foods refers to foods that are lower in calories and higher in vitamins and minerals and other healthy substances. So some examples of nutrient-dense foods are fruits and veggies and whole grains, seafood, eggs, lean meats, poultry, beans, peas, lentils, unsalted nuts and seeds, and low-fat dairy products. So really, when planning nutrient-dense meals, we must prepare them with little added sugar and saturated fat and less sodium. So really, there's a lot that we can do for our health upstream. We can easily incorporate nutrient-dense foods into our diet. So the more colors and diversity in the fruits and veggies that we eat, the better our body is able to function and fight disease and inflammation. So for those calling in on the slide, I included a photo with a classic American steak dinner with a baked potato and broccoli with a side-by-side comparison of a different steak dinner. The other steak dinner has diverse veggies such as broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, and avocado slices. And the second photo, really being more plant focused, it has a large variety of color and nutrient dense foods and fiber. And we can really notice how the plant focused steak dinner has the colors of the rainbow, which really gives us the cue that it's nutrient dense. And we can also notice that the nutrient dense option is much more filling just because of all the extra vegetables. And the steak portion is actually smaller. The steak portion is kind of more about the size of your palm in comparison to your full hand extended out with your fingers. So this way we can really reduce our red meat intake and actually save money, just because a steak of that size would be probably pretty expensive. But really just something to think about with eating healthy is that we don't necessarily have to eat less food. We can actually eat more food. We just have to be really, thoughtful about the nutrient dense choices that we make. So now we will consider the 2025 Dietary Guidelines and the aspects of health promotion. So the benefits of this dietary guideline include improved bone health and lower risk of fractures, lower risk of cardiovascular disease, lower cholesterol, lower blood pressure, lower risk of obesity and lower BMI, lower risk of type 2 diabetes, lower risk of breast and colon cancers, lower risk of mortality. And overall, it's just really crucial to understand the impact our nutrition has on our health. And we feel really inspired to share you guys the way that improving nutrition can benefit all of us. So now we're going to talk briefly about several dietary patterns. So dietary patterns are the way that people eat over long periods of time. So this is weeks, months, even years. So what you eat over time has more of an impact on your nutrition than something that you eat a single day or even a single meal. So dietary patterns are influenced by several factors, including culture as well. So the dietary patterns with MyPlate Plan, this diagram in general is really important to consider as it uses the layout for what each meal should incorporate. So for those who can't see the picture on the slide, it's really a tool showing you the portions of different foods to eat per meal. So on the plate, we have 1/2 of the plate is a fruit and or vegetable. Then we are supposed to vary the fruit and vegetables that we use in between different meals. Then we're going to have 1/4 of the plate being protein and also varying the sources of protein used. Then we have the other 1/4 of the meal being whole grains. And then we're really focusing on limiting our sugar, limiting our sodium and saturated fats. And really, we have this other section here on the diagram about dairy, talking about ways that we can consume low-fat dairy and dairy-free alternatives such as soy milk. And in particular, we can kind of recognize that Cow milk and soy milk actually have more protein in it than something like almond milk or cashew milk. So considering that older adults are really focusing on higher protein consumption, this is really important to kind of recognize that dairy and fortified soy alternatives are probably our better options. So here we're going to talk more about, we included different examples about different meals stemming from other cultures. And we can really see that each of the 4 meals pictured, they include the same aspects of the MyPlate plan, with the 1/2 plate being fruits and vegetables, 1/4 being protein of various sources, and 1/4 grains with various types of grains. Using whole grains when possible, and even alternative dairy sources. For those calling in who cannot see the pictures, we have 4 different meals on the slide. We have a Thai coconut curry with peppers, chicken, onions, cilantro, peanuts, and rice. We have a Hawaiian poke bowl with edamame, cucumbers, radishes, purple cabbage, ahi tuna, and rice. We have Mexican shrimp tacos with purple cabbage, jalapenos, cilantro, lime, and whole ground corn tortillas. And then we have a Middle Eastern shashuka, which is has peppers, onions, canned tomatoes, eggs, avocados, and whole grain bread. So really what we love about every single meal is just the diversity of color. Each meal has whole foods incorporated into it that are all unique. And really looking at the pictures themselves, it looks like a rainbow. It's really beautiful just looking at all the different foods. When we really consider this, each shade of the rainbow brings something great into our bodies that really helps us feel better.
Okay, the Mediterranean diet is a meal pattern that we wanted to focus on. It's a popular dietary pattern, shown to be linked with less cancer, lower risk of developing Alzheimer's and other dementias, lower risk of developing type 2, which used to be known as adult onset diabetes, helps manage blood pressure, decrease risk of cardiovascular disease, such as heart attack and stroke. There are 7 changes that we can make to move towards a Mediterranean diet. These changes should be done slowly, not all at once. And this includes planning meals that have more olive oil, more vegetables, more fruit, more nuts and seeds, more whole grains, less red meat, and more healthy desserts without too much added sugar. We wanted to include the link to one of our favorite online resources for those that you can see. I will read this to those that are on the phone, and maybe you'll have access to a tablet or a computer sometime after the talk. The website is medinsteadofmeds.com, and this site includes information on the Mediterranean diet. It includes tips and hints and lots of recipes. And I've tried some, and they're very good. So you may want to look into that website and try some of the recipes. The picture on this slide is a meal that Claire cooked. It's a Mediterranean pattern. And she cooked falafel with olive oil, made a salad bowl of spinach, wild rice, and turmeric, tzatziki sauce, and cucumber, onion, tomato salad with feta cheese crumbles. The meal is very healthy and it looks delicious. I'm sure it is. Okay, next slide, please.
So the blue zones also have vital dietary patterns that we would like to consider, really even highlight it. So a National Geographic explorer and author named Dan Buettner coined this term blue zones. These 5 regions or blue zones are shown here on the map, And these blue zones are Loma Linda, California, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Ikaria, Greece, and Okinawa, Japan. These blue zones are actually the world's longest lived cultures. There are large amounts of people in these locations that live to be 100 years old. And we call people who live to be 100 years old centenarians. So these people are considered among the healthiest in the world. For example, among the average Americans, about 1 in 4,000 people live to be 100 years old. However, in Nicoya, Costa Rica, 1 in 250 people live to be 100 years old, which is really phenomenal. So what's their secret? Well, researchers found that all blue zone areas share 9 specific lifestyle habits that we call the Power 9. So I'm going to go ahead and discuss more about the Power 9, which number 1 is move naturally. So the individuals in blue zones live in environments that encourages them to move just for their day-to-day activities. For example, they're gardening, they're doing yard work often, and that's keeping them physically fit. Then we have number 2, which is purpose. And these individuals have phrases that they use to really describe them having a sense of purpose and reason for waking up every morning. Then we have number 3, which is downshift. And the individuals in blue zones have moments throughout each day where they pause and they remember their ancestors and they pray. Others nap, and others even have a happy hour with their friends. So really just taking that moment to themselves and to kind of let the stress go. Then we have number 4, which is the 80% rule. These individuals in blue zones have a mantra which reminds them to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. So particularly people in blue zones, they actually eat their smallest meal of the day in the late afternoon or early evening. So that's vastly different than American culture, where we're eating dinner later in the evening, and this is typically
listen to your
larger meals of
sister
the day. And so it's kind of cool to consider how they aren't eating to 100% full capacity every meal. They only go to the 80%. Then number 5, we have the plant slant. So this refers to beans, soy, and lentils being the cornerstone of most centenarian diets rather than meat. So meat is eaten on average 5 times per month, and each serving is about the size of a deck of cards. And then number 6 being wine at 5. So all people in blue zones drink alcohol moderately and regularly, unless their religion believes otherwise. But really the trick with that is just 1 to 2 glasses per day of something like Sardinian wine with friends and food. Then we have number 7, which is belong, and that's most of the centenarians that were interviewed actually belonged to a faith-based community, and there's research that shows attending faith-based services 4 times per month adds to life expectancy. So that's really neat if we have these communities around us. And number 8 is loved ones first. Centenarians in the blue zones put their families first by keeping their parents and grandparents nearby or even in the home. And many have life partners and spend plenty of time with their children and grandchildren. And lastly, number 9, right tribe. The world's longest lived people have social circles that also support their healthy behaviors and contribute to their longevity. So we can really consider how, the people around us influence us in a lot of different ways. And blue zones are just overall fascinating to consider, as these individuals have dietary patterns along with lifestyle choices that have really allowed them to live long, full, healthy lives. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about making healthy food choices one day at a time. So when considering dietary patterns and how we will plan each meal, we're really thinking about eating a varied, nutrient-dense diet. That's the best approach. So when making healthy food choices, we're taking it one day at a time. You know, our nutrition and dietary pattern is the totality of what we eat. It's over months, it's over years. So no one's perfect. I certainly am. I'm not, and that's okay. Like one day and one meal doesn't make a good or bad diet. So really, let's think of the ways that we can make small changes over time, and we can aim for more nutrient-dense single food choices. And then when combined, you know, slowly we're having these full nutrient-dense meals. So if we did that at every meal, then suddenly you have a full day where, you know, you're eating great, and then you do that so on and so on, and it just builds on each other. So the following oatmeal example shows how people can make thoughtful choices that meet their nutrient needs and, most importantly, enjoy their food. So for those calling in who can't see the images, there are two images on the slide. One image shows an oatmeal packet that is the maple and brown sugar flavoring, and the other photo is an oatmeal bowl that has apples, blueberries, cantaloupe, chia seeds, pecans, maple syrup. And really, if you were to think about the bowl of the oatmeal with the flavoring packet versus the bowl of oatmeal with all the toppings, there's a large difference between these two bowls. So really, when we think about it, which one seems more tasty to you? Personally, I would choose the one with all the fruits and vegetables, or the fruits, nuts, and seeds. Um, that looks delicious to me. The more toppings on oatmeal, the better, personally. I like love throwing on different things onto oatmeal, like pumpkin seeds or shredded coconut, cinnamon, peanut butter. There's so many ways that we can get creative with the foods that we eat, and we can really enjoy them.
Okay, I'm going to talk just really briefly about basic nutrition in the interest of time. So the first thing I'll talk about, next slide, please, is carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are also known as sugars and starches. And one of the goals of the dietary the dietary guidelines is to reduce the added sugars that we put in our food. They're recommending best if we eat at least 50% of our carbohydrates as whole grains, and you can read the label, the ingredients, and see the word whole. Whole grains help reduce the risk of diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. And the picture on this page is our blueberry and pumpkin seed pancakes that Claire made using buckwheat flour. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we're going to talk about fats next. Now, several years ago, we were taught that all fats were bad and should be avoided as much as possible. More current research shows us that certain fats should be minimized or avoided if possible, but others are healthy and should be encouraged in limited amounts. And the reason we limit fats is more because of the high calorie content. What do fats do in the body? A few of their functions are to provide energy and insulate and and protect organs in the body. They also have a role in the hormone production and action in the body. The good fats that we're encouraging people to eat are unsaturated, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, and canola oil are a few examples of that. In moderation are saturated fats like butter, coconut oil, and ghee. And the fats that we should avoid are trans fats, also known as hydrogenated fats. And food manufacturers have really done a good job in the last few years of trying to eliminate them from our foods, but we still find them in several food items. And I was searching through labels, and I found them really not in items that they would have been in a few years ago, but We find them in items like Crisco solid shortening that some of us use for making pie crust, and the frozen puff pastry sheets that you buy. Those also have trans fat in them. Whoops, there goes my phone. Turn that off, sorry. So those are the things we should avoid. And you can find that on the label. Trans fat is now identified on the food label. Okay, next slide, please. And protein is the nutrient that we wanted to focus on a little bit, because that's one that older people tend to be missing, or not missing completely, but not have an adequate amount. We find protein in both animal and plant sources. Some examples of animal protein are meat, poultry, eggs, dairy products, fish. Plant sources include beans, lentils, and peas, including tofu. In the body, protein helps repair and build body tissues, regulate reactions in the body, and it makes up much of the structure of the bones and muscles, providing a framework to the body. Dairy products are rich in protein, and soy milk is too. And as Claire mentioned earlier, other plant-based milks such as almond milk, cashew milk, and coconut milk have very little protein in them, so they really are not a substitute for plant milks. Okay. I mean, not for cow's milk, sorry. Okay, Claire, you're next.
So yeah, so in general, grab cow's milk or soy milk, just being in the older population for that protein consumption. But so on this slide, we're going to talk more about fluids, really because it's an essential element to healthy body function. So in general, it's recommended that we consume half our body weight in ounces per day. So for example, if I weigh 140 pounds, so half of that is 70 pounds. So then I will drink 70 ounces per day. And I know what you may be thinking, what the heck is 70 ounces? Well, I like to think about it this way. Maybe at home you have a water bottle that's 32 ounces. I know I have a water bottle that is 32 ounces, or really whatever is best for you. But so I know that I roughly will drink 2 32-ounce water bottles per day. And also remember that this amount may be different for you if your doctor recommends that you restrict your fluids due to a health condition. So overall, there's many tips and tricks to drinking more water throughout the day. For example, we can drink out of a reusable straw and promote increased hydration that way, especially if we have a lid and a straw that allows for on-the-go drinking, which makes it really helpful to carry water into the next room with us or on our next adventure. We can also flavor water with different fruits. The picture on this slide, there's some different examples of flavored water. One has cucumber and lemon in it. Another one has strawberry and grapefruit. And another one has blueberry and orange. And really all of those look delicious to me. And they are super easy ways to chop up and toss in a glass of water just to increase the amount of fluids you're drinking. Another helpful idea for having more fluids is actually eating foods that contain more water in them. So for example, something like melons or lettuce or oranges, they're going to have a lot of fluid inside of them. And there's this one saying that I know that says, eat your water, which I think about often just for the people who maybe don't love the flavor of water and they kind of want for alternative ways to drink fluids. That's a really good way to think about it. And that way you're eating more fruits and vegetables too. So it's really a win-win. In many ways, water is our best friend. So like I mentioned earlier, biochemically, water is essential for all of our body functions. And another reason why increasing fluids is important is actually for alleviating constipation. So it's the colon's job in your body to really absorb water through that. And so if your body doesn't have enough fluids, your colon will keep absorbing water and your stool will actually become more firm and will keep having water pulled from it. And so essentially the fluids that you drink are keeping your stool soft and moving and I know everyone enjoys that. And so really keep your flavored water bottles and straws near you. And then just another general rule of thumb for drinking fluids is we really want to bump up water consumption and avoid sugary sodas and juices. I know they're tasty, but our bodies really have a hard time recognizing that we just drank 300 calories of sugar. And we actually end up being just as hungry at the next meal. The additional sugar that we just drank, it doesn't come with really much vitamins or minerals, especially if it's a soda. And that's just not great for our health. And so really a tip that we can think about is swapping out sparkling water or unsweetened tea if it's the bubbles or the flavor that you're really craving, or even a hot cup of tea. I think about, on these colder mornings, how nice it is just to drink a warm cup of tea, or even as you're settling down for bed. So those are just some alternative ways to think about consuming more fluids. So now we're going to talk more about adding nutrient-dense foods to meals 101. So we're going to discuss more about cooking, essential spices in the cabinet, grocery shopping for better nutrition, and eating healthier in restaurants. So cooking and nutrition. With this slide, it's really my goal to inspire people to be more hands-on in the kitchen. During 2020 and COVID-19, I bet a lot of you changed your eating habits. Maybe some of you had more time to practice your skills in the kitchen. Cooking is really great. When we prepare meals ourselves, we really have more control over the types of foods and ingredients selected. So this way we can focus on choosing nutrient-dense options with little to no added sugars, saturated fats, and less sodium. So which again, this is vital because the nutrients we put into our bodies, they directly translate into the tools our body uses to walk us through everyday life. And the more diversity we can add into our diet, the happier our genes, the happier our hormones and our immune system. So really just that is a full encompassing thing that I always like to hold on to. And another reason why cooking is great is it really gives us the potential to connect more with the earth. By washing and cutting and seasoning and cooking our foods, we've become more intimate with the plants produced by the land. And especially in North Carolina, being in such a large agricultural state, I find cooking such a great way to increase the gratitude that I have for all the local produce and seasonal fruits and vegetables.
Okay, I'm going to be talking now about grocery shopping and then eating healthier in a restaurant. And as I told Claire, these are two of my favorite topics. I think one of the most important things about grocery shopping is plan your meals before going to the store. And that really helps you make a list around your weekly menu or 2-week, depending on how often you go. So once you get to the store, you know what you need to buy. You won't forget the things you need and buy things you don't need. I usually think of the area in the perimeter of the store having many of the healthier foods, the whole foods like produce, like the dairy products, and also the poultry, and often fish is around the perimeter of the store. But the interior contains some good foods too, like dried beans and peas and that sort of thing. So you sort of have to go up and down the aisles and pick up things that are on your list. It's important to read the food labels. But it's also important to remember that some very healthy foods do not have a food label. Fruits and vegetables are not required to have a food label. Fish is not required to have a food label. And also foods that have insignificant amounts of nutrients so low that they can be labeled as zero, like coffee and tea. They are not required to have a food label. And what I always tell people when we talk about food is just think about what your grandmother had in her kitchen. And some things that are highly processed foods are not foods that your grandmother ever had in her house. So maybe they're things we should minimize in our diets. Okay, next slide, please. Eating healthier in a restaurant. And you notice I didn't say healthy, I said healthier. Restaurants, it's really hard to eat a completely healthy meal in a restaurant because they add all those delicious things like cream and butter and sugar, salt. So we'll talk about how to make the meal as healthy as we can. I think, again, just like grocery shopping, planning is very, very helpful when you're going to a restaurant. And if you can possibly look online and check the menu ahead and decide what you are going to eat, that's very helpful to know what you're going to eat before you walk into the restaurant and look at all that delicious food and smell all those yummy smells. If you don't have access to the menus online, many restaurants have disposable menus, little paper menus for takeout that you can take at home. And I know I keep some of those in a drawer in my kitchen, places we go frequently, and I can look at those ahead and decide what I want. So once you get to the restaurant, you know what you're going to order. And the first thing they want to do is bring you bread and butter and oil. And if it's a Mexican restaurant, chips and salsa. If you can resist, ask for no bread or chips on the table. If you really want that bread in that picture looks so good, you might ask them to bring it with the meal. So you will be eating your food, you won't be starving, and you might eat a lot less of the bread and the chips. Look for keywords on the menu to tell you whether things are healthy or not. And I have a few keywords here that these are the ones for foods we probably should minimize the amount we eat. Pan fried, dipped, crunchy, creamy, Alfredo, buttered, breaded, smothered au gratin, cheesy, and Parmesan. Those are generally really high fat foods, often deep fried. But instead, we can look for roasted, poached, baked, grilled, or steamed. But if you're not sure, ask your waiter or waitress. And usually they can tell you exactly how a food is fixed. Sometimes if you ask them if they can leave something off, like the butter or the cream, they may be able to get that done for you also. Starting a meal with a salad is good, or eating a salad as your whole meal. That's usually pretty healthy. If you can ask for the dressing on the side and just use a little bit. Some people like to dip their forks into the dressing first and then into the salad. So you still get the taste of the dressing, but you're not getting a large amount. And creamy dressings are generally a lot higher in fat and calories, and really not healthy fats and calories than a vinegar-based dressing. A vinaigrette, if they have it, is a good choice. And when you're getting the salad, if you can have them leave off the cheese and the croutons, you can save yourself a lot of fat, saturated fat, and calories. As far as ordering an entree, you can always ask for extra non-starchy vegetables. Ask them to be served without butter or sauce. And if you ask them to double or even triple your serving of the non-starchy vegetables and you offer to pay extra, usually they will not even charge you, and you can fill up on vegetables. And as far as ending your meal, desserts, fruit is best, and a lot of restaurants do have that on the menu for dessert. Sherbet and sorbet are pretty good too. They're better than many of the really rich desserts. But if you want a rich dessert once in a while, it's best to share. A bite or two is really enough to get the flavor, and that way you're not adding a lot of saturated fat and added sugar to your diet. Okay, next slide, please.
So here are some photos of some food that I've made recently. So in one photo, I have baked salmon with a salad with corn, tomatoes, cucumber, feta, olive oil. In another photo, I have a strawberry, banana, mango, Greek yogurt smoothie. In another photo, I have a veggie omelet with spinach, tomatoes, jalapenos, feta, with a side of apples and cinnamon. And in the last photo, I have a rice bowl with sauteed chicken, broccoli, carrots, and beets. So now we'd really like to open up the floor for discussion. So what meals are you planning? Now that it's spring in North Carolina, I know that there's tons of new foods coming into season. So is anyone excited about anything? We'd love to hear it.
So everybody's muted. If you would unmute yourself. If you're on the phone, press *6 and you can unmute yourself.
Well, I can say one thing that I have fixed. The asparagus is coming out and it looks so good. And I did some roasted asparagus. Oh, it was delicious. Put a little olive oil on it and it was good. It tasted so good because we don't get that very much.
I know I'm getting hungry.
Just hearing about it, I know all this food.
I would like to make an observation, please.
Mm-hmm.
I'm vegetarian, so I'm not doing so badly, but I'm still concerned, although I eat 3, 4, 5 fruit a day, I'm still concerned about this number of 7 portions of fruit and veg, because of the fact that fruit is still carrying a lot of sugar. So that's one thing I want to, I have 3 points. Can I put them all together now? Or shall I go one at a time?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But yes, so
Juliana.
one fruit sugar. The second thing is about the carbohydrates, because I know being a vegetarian, carbohydrates happens to be my problem. But I'm asking about carbohydrates.
I don't know.
For example,
Unmute.
Mexican.
Can't hear nothing, right? That should have done it.
Yeah, for example, like eating Mexican,
your options.
the taco, which is a lot of flour. Or just
request remote control.
Yeah.
Annotate, exit side by side mode.
I'm trying to find the person. Bear with me a minute.
Yes.
I got it.
Thank you.
Juliana.
So yes, my point of sugar, wheat, the flour problem, and like sort of like Mexican, Mexican style.
Mute my audio. Mute my audio.
And on the one thing I haven't noticed mentioned is with such a large double-blind thing, a large Mexican population, which really has introduced some good carbohydrate foods in terms of the yucca and the utiva, their slow release carbohydrates. And of that here in North Carolina with such a large Mexican population. So just things like that I have been observing through the program.
Okay, well, I can answer the question about fruit. Juliana, when we talk about sugar, we're really talking about added sugar. And the sugar that occurs naturally in food is not really considered a problem. When you think about eating a piece of fruit, there's a lot of fiber in that fruit and a lot of fluid in the fruit. So that sugar is being, the absorption of the sugar is being slowed down by those other substances. So it really is not harmful. But adding sugar to things, and that would be all sugars. It would be corn syrup, white sugar, maple syrup, any, there's a whole variety of sugars, and they are absorbed very fast. And so and they really do a harm to the body. And that's why the experts are recommending that we try to reduce those added sugars as much as we can. You'll never eliminate them, and eating foods that naturally have sugar in them, milk, dairy products, that all has sugar, but it's incorporated in a food. As far as the wheat, you were kind of breaking up when you were talking, and I didn't hear what you said about the wheat.
Well, I know as a vegetarian, I have a problem with breads because I love, and therefore the labels are not always true. It's saying whole grains or whole wheat, but one has to examine very carefully, mainly because grains and the wheat is somewhere down the bottom of the labeling chart. So the wheat, the type of flour, the type of pasta that is used, and I'm talking generally for myself. I can go to the health food shop and look for the quinoa and rice blend, brown rice blend, or something like that. But it isn't a normal shopping for people. So I was just thinking that wheat and the carbohydrates will still present a problem for many people.
Well, there are some people who do have a problem with the gluten that's in many of our grains, not all, and some do and some don't. For people who really do have a problem, they do have to avoid wheat. But many people think they shouldn't eat gluten, and it really wouldn't hurt them, and actually they can miss some nutrients in their diet by not eating gluten containing. So I think if somebody thinks they're intolerant of gluten or they have an allergy, it's really a good idea to check with your doctor and make sure that really is so. And it may be, but I hate to see people eliminate things from their diet if maybe they don't need to, because it can hurt. Did I answer your question? Because you were kind of breaking up.
Yes, thank you. I just needed a little bit more expansion on those things, because it's not the common things that most of the people you're trying to encourage to eat better. I'm appalled, I must confess, for North Carolina being so agricultural, I'm appalled at the deep fry and everything, even the vegetables have got the pork fat in it. So I'm always surprised about this. It's such a healthy state in many ways. There's that downside of it.
And then you had
yes.
Okay, you had a question about the Mexican food. Maybe Claire can answer that, but would you mind repeating it, because for some reason you're breaking up. I'm sorry.
Juliana, when you speak, if you can if you can stay with your head facing forward, I think it's the way your mic is picking up your sound, and try not to move as you speak. It might help. Thank you.
Yeah, with the Mexican, I was thinking that the tacos, which is the wheat issue, everything is packed in wheat. So the wheat issue is one question for me. But more importantly, the fact that with the influx of Mexicans, you have a change of foods, that change of carbohydrates, which are good carbohydrates, to some extent better than a white potato. I'm thinking of the yams and the yuccas. And I haven't noticed that sort of food juiced into the general eating plate. So I just wanted to, I'm just wondering if either of you have tried any of those things, yucca or, for example.
Have you tried some of them, Claire? I know you're very adventurous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, with the diversity that we see just in our state, in our country, we're going to have tons of different cultures that start to introduce their foods, but then we also have to remember that everyone's going to have their personal preference. So I love trying new foods. I'm open to try practically everything. But yeah, not everyone, I guess, is going to lean that way into the Hispanic dishes. But I'm always down for a taco night, or etc. I think really just to really hold on to from this presentation is not that one thing is better than the other, but that many different things come together and help us, and that there are many ways that we can incorporate a lot of different types of foods into our diets.
Yeah, I agree with Claire. I think no matter what your culture is, if you lean more towards the whole foods and less towards the processed foods, it really is healthy. And as far as the tortillas, the corn tortillas, if you like them, the corn in those is a whole grain. So that is something, and I'd really have to read the label to see if there is wheat flour in many of those. Whole wheat tortillas are also available in the store. But I think, yeah, I think our culture's been enriched quite a bit by a lot of the people coming from South and Central America, and oh gosh, there's so many different foods than we had at one time. I think it's really been wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, I had a question about honey. Is honey a good substitute for sugar?
Well, it's really pretty similar. It's considered an added sugar. So it really is. Now, the dietary guidelines state that artificial sweeteners have a place. I've never seen this in the dietary guidelines before, so I found it really interesting this year that that artificial sweeteners are an acceptable addition to the diet in limited quantities. The way they described it, it sounded like a more temporary use of the artificial sweeteners just until people can wean themselves off the added sugar and to help people cut calories.
Okay, thank you.
I would love to speak on that honey topic. I personally will grab honey, just maybe a small spoonful for like a morning coffee, or say in an oatmeal bowl, like I was kind of explaining. So I guess, I do think honey has a lot of great properties. They say it's actually really good for your immune system just because the bees were bringing in all kinds of different things and it kind of exposes your body to that. So I do think there are some beneficial things to honey in comparison to just table sugar. But I will say that just everything in moderation, and the most that you can put with, incorporate fiber with the sugar will help you stay fuller longer. It'll keep your blood sugar more level. So say you do really crave honey, yeah, make that oatmeal bowl, put some nuts in it, or apples and peanut butter kind of thing. And so you aren't eating just pure a ton of honey, but you still get to enjoy it, because I do believe that it is important for us still to eat the things that we love, kind of like what Robin was saying. If you really want dessert, get it and share it. Because if we just cut it out completely, then one day we're going to decide, I really missed this, I'm going to keep eating this. So really, I wouldn't say, oh, no honey, because I love honey. I have a jar of honey on my thing, but, it's really just about the moderation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have things, for example, what about agave nectar or manuka? Well, manuka honey is very expensive.
It is very expensive.
But what about the stevia? I do use stevia a lot. It's just one drop that would, gives such a
Uh-huh.
different sweeten to your thing. But I think of late, although I've been using stevia for some time, recently there is some sort of a write-up about stevia and its processing. Do you know about that?
What I've read, and I may not have read what you've read, Juliana, but what I've read about stevia is there hasn't been as much testing of it.
All right.
I'd really have to kind of research. I hate to say too much because I really want to read a little more and be sure what I'm telling you is correct. But stevia is from leaves, so it's a more natural source. But it is considered an artificial sweetener. But I'll try to do a little research on stevia, and maybe we'll put it in our monthly packet that goes out, because I'm not really sure. So you saw something about the processing of it?
Yes, I didn't know. There was some, I think last week or even the week before, there was something.
Okay,
So-
I'll see what I can find.
I have a question. This is Jackie, about soy milk. I know it came into favor, then it came out of favor for older adults. I know you're recommending that more than almond milk, but I was under the impression that you had to be careful of the soy. What can you tell me about that?
Well, are you talking about the question about the estrogens, the phytoestrogens?
Yes.
In the soy? I think as long as you don't overdo it. Now, for people that really have a breast cancer or a history of breast cancer, I would say check with your doctor, but you might want to do soy just pretty limited. And I'm not saying people should, just like Claire and I are saying, tons and tons of soy milk, I don't think is good, but using a little bit. But I know the real concern is people substituting, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, I have almond milk sitting in my own refrigerator right now, almond milk, cashew milk, and all those things. But those really are not considered substitutes for dairy milk, where soy is.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I wonder if we should go ahead and go into the rooms for 10 or 15 minutes.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, did you want to do that before we talk more about the expo, or is
Yeah,
that?
you can talk about the expo. That's fine.
Okay.
I didn't have the script with me. I forgot about that. I was just watching the time, wanted to be cognizant of that. So yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Then I'll try to be quick. Thank you so much, Claire and Robin. That was very inspiring. And I love all those great looking, colorful foods. I try to do that myself with throwing in a certain percentage of junk food every day, because I need to have some junk, but then a lot of healthy food.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And get rid of my chocolate. But thank you. This was excellent. And so our health fair, our virtual health and wellness expo includes this presentation, and we have another presentation next week on wellness, really focusing on the Medicare annual wellness visit and evidence-based screening. So that's our final presentation for the month of March. But we also have the website part of our expo. And if you have not seen the website, you can go to the Chatham Health Alliance website, and then a little bar pops up at the top. And okay, there we go. So at the Chatham Health Alliance website, you'll see like a little pink circle or square where you click on it and it brings you to this website. And if you scroll down, you can see our focus area presentations. So today is the eating good, feeling better. Next week is prevention is key to great health, which Anna and myself are presenting on. Again, the Medicare annual wellness visit and evidence-based screenings. And then below that, as you scroll down, are our 5 major topics for this health expo. So we have vaccinations, being active, home safety, healthy eating, and wellness and screenings. And those reflect the 5 presentations this month. And so you can click on them. For example, if you click on healthy eating and you click on the words healthy eating, and you'll see as you scroll down, there's information about some of those dietary patterns that Liz and that Robin and Claire talked about, such as the Mediterranean diet. And there are also some sample recipes, healthy recipes that you can see. So there's the Mediterranean diet, the MyPlate, sodium, which refers to like salt in your diet, sugar in your diet. And then further down, you can click on other resources, and there are some healthy recipes, and some of them are in both Spanish and English. And so I encourage you to take some time to go to our website. And this was really put together by the Council on Aging, the Health Alliance, and my nursing students. And in addition to all of this great information on the main page of the expo, if you scroll down, there's exhibitor booths, and several of them have information that you can click on the word go and go to their website, and such as the health department and others, and see information that they've provided. There's an example popping up.
Maybe. Depending on my internet.
Yeah, so there's something about nutrition counseling and healthy eating. So you can find information there. And then, of course, back on the main page, besides those sponsors, well, there's the exhibitor booths, and then down a little bit further are our sponsors, like our gold sponsors, Alignment Health and Captel. And bronze is a community home care and hospice. And then there's in-kind support from Cora and the health department and cooperative extension and others. And so take some time and really explore our virtual health fair. I wanted to mention that for participating in our expo, if you haven't already gotten one, you're eligible to get a goodie bag that are available at both health departments. And these have a $5 Subway gift certificate, a Duke Center for Living guest pass, and some other items. And we also want to thank, let's see, the cooperative extension, I guess, provided water bottles, and Post Center provided some recipes, so I want to thank them. Liz, can you think of anything else I've missed?
Well, we actually have somebody from Alignment Healthcare, Dale's here. So we'll give a shout out for him when we get to switch to the things. But no, I think you did a great job. I know that a lot of the people here provided, some of the sponsors provided stuff for the bags and also for the content on the website too. So we appreciate our partners with that.
And I just wanted to clarify something. So Julie, you said that the goodie bags were at both centers. I think you meant both senior centers, correct?
Oh yeah, sorry. Both senior centers in Pittsburgh and Siler City.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
Just to clarify.
Okay, thank you, folks. I must leave you. It was a very good program, so thank you all very much.
Liz, can I introduce myself really quickly? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Sorry, because I'm running out, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Ann, and I'm a registered dietitian at the health department. And so, as Julie showed, you can access a link to our page, and we provide medical nutrition and counseling here in Siler City at the health department. So be sure to check out the services we offer. It's all included there. And any questions you ever have, you all are residents of Chatham County, so you are welcome to see us. We help provide individualized counseling to help prevent and manage chronic disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So yeah, just wanted to say hi and introduce myself.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
want to give Anna a shout out. She was our presenter last month for or earlier this month for the diabetes support discussion, and she did an amazing job. And I believe we have that up on our website for anybody that wants to listen to that.
Awesome. Well, that was super fun. I can't wait to do it in person. That's what I'm waiting for.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of people have dropped off and I don't want to keep everybody longer than we need to. It might just be helpful if we went around and the sponsors and the people who are having the booths, if they want to just say a few words. Jen, do you want to go ahead and unmute and just say a few words about Poe?
And I cannot spotlight now, Liz. You have to do it.
Okay. Oops, everybody's spotlighted. Okay, go ahead, Jen.
So thanks for having us. Yes, so the Post Center we're a nonprofit organization that provide health and wellness education for youth and adults throughout all of North Carolina. So in the goodie bags that were mentioned, we did have some recipe cards. I think there's a cell phone wallet, a magazine, and then we do have a ton of resources that are no cost to offer up for folks. So I can put, if you click on the website under Poth Health, it'll take you to our website. But we do have a program, for example, it's called Text to Live Healthy. That is a no-cost option. It is 2 to 3 texts per week right now that give you nutrition and physical activity tips. They have recipes. So I'll type that, but you can just send, you text the word garden. Let me see if I'm able to share this. It might not be. See if it'll let me share that. You guys able to see that okay?
Yep.
Yep. So if you just go ahead and if anyone is interested, they can go ahead and text the word garden to the number 2133. So the texts are available in English and in Spanish. So that's just a great resource to get some more information, especially those were 2 of the topics during the Health Expo. And then on our website, we have a lot of gardening tips, nutrition. We also have a YouTube channel that has some live demonstrations and activities. So we'd love for you to check them out. And feel free to contact me. I'm not sure if there's a way, but we'd be happy to help with anything.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. I'm going to spotlight Dale from Alignment Healthcare.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dale Neal. I'm with Alignment Healthcare, and we are a Medicare Advantage plan new to the Chatham County area. Our company started out in California, and we've expanded here to North Carolina, to Johnston, Wake, and Chatham counties, and just trying to kind of get out into the community and get embedded in the community and give back in any way we can. I am always available to answer any Medicare Advantage questions that anyone may have. So please feel free to reach out to me. If you go to the Expo website and click on our link, it'll take you right to our website, and it'll put you in touch with someone that can answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm gonna, I guess, just talk for CapTel. So Alignment Healthcare was one of our sponsors, and so we appreciate it, what they're doing. And they're also going to sponsor Senior Games, so we're glad about that. We had some other people, I guess, that had dropped off. I know Cora was on earlier, and I'm trying to think of somebody else, but I'm going to talk about CapTel. I don't know if she was having problems with the sound, but CapTel is also one of our sponsors, and they provide no-cost phones for those with hearing loss. And so if you're interested in that, we can give you some more information about it. And let me go ahead. Does anybody else have, I think, let me see. Does anybody else have anything else to share with us? Any lasting words? We're thrilled that you all are on here. And who's gotten a goodie bag? Just raise your hand if you've gotten a goodie bag so far. All right, so Wanda got one. Sandra, Neri, did you get yours? Not yet. So, okay, the rest of you, if you need a goodie bag and you need it delivered to you, we can actually do it with your meals, or we have, we're working with the Chatham Sheriff's Department, and so they're actually delivering some of the goodie bags to you. So anyway.
Yeah, and Jung just dropped off another box of the physical activity booklet, so we'll bring some more by later this week.
Okay, awesome. Well, Julie, it's been great working with you, with the students, and we are just thrilled. And so thank you so much for all that you do and what you've done. It's been just a nice working relationship, nice partnership with you.
Great.
And so we are doing a lot. Do you want to talk about the other things that you're doing with the nursing students real quick?
Sure. Besides the presentations, a couple of nursing students have been getting started on some telephone visits, which we're hoping to gradually move into driveway visits with like a 10-foot physical distance. So to get out and talk with older adults in the community, maybe working on socialization, they could talk about health issues, maybe do some coaching on how to be healthier. So that's one project students are working on. And then a couple students are working with the tablet project. And I think I heard that one person got a tablet. So they are working with a group of, is it around 10 seniors, 10 older adults who got a tablet from the health or from the Council on Aging. And then they're going to be teaching these people how to use the tablets and possibly connect to these services, maybe learn how to access their health records virtually. So that's another project. And two of our students who talked the first week in March are collaborating with the health department on vaccine communications and promotion of vaccinations, and especially now the COVID vaccination. So we're working on that. Anybody think of anything I'm missing? Oh, and of course, a couple of students went with me and helped out at one of the mass vaccination clinics a couple of weeks ago. So we're having a great semester, and we really appreciate our partnership with the Council on Aging and the Health Department and the Health Alliance. Thank you.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody coming today, and we will see you next week. If not before then, we have a chock full schedule of activities, presentations, and exercise classes. And so we will see you sometime in the near future. Thank you so much.
All right.